The Fed15 podcast is presented by Serving Those Who Serve, a fiduciary, fee-based financial planning firm serving federal government employees and retirees all over the country. This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended to be taken as financial advice. All listeners should consult their personal advisors before taking any action. The opinions expressed by our hosts are their own and do not reflect the views, policies, or position of either Raymond James or Serving Those Who Serve.
Welcome, everyone, to the Fed15 podcast, proudly presented by Serving Those Who Serve. Each week, we will discuss the latest news and info that Feds need to know in 15 minutes-ish or less. So whether you're a seasoned federal employee or just starting out in your career, Fed15 has you covered. So grab your coffee, your energy drink, your green juice, whatever, kick back, and we will tell you what you need to know but may have missed. We are your host. I am Dan Sipe, and I am joined by the dazzling, diligent Katelyn Murray.
Diligent. I like that one. That's a new addition.
Yes, it is.
Very cool.
I am Thesaurus Rex.
I love it. Yeah, Dan's a big words guy. He has a very robust vocabulary, and I really enjoy that as a fellow word lover. So, very cool.
So Katelyn, we haven't talked about it in a while. So how's your baby bro doing? I understand that in addition to capturing a state title in football, he's about to heave a metal ball. Well, actually, it's plastic. I'll explain that in a minute. He's about to heave a ball into the air and see if he can get another one. So what's going on there?
He is. I think he's been kind of practicing. I think it's coming up in March, so he's got a couple months to kind of get things together with all of that. But he's been sort of enjoying his off season. He's also a senior in high school, so there's lots of kind of senior activities that are going on. And yeah, it's crazy how fast that happened. Like there's quite a few years between my brother and I. He's actually my half brother. And there was an age gap between my parents. So in a way, he's my brother, but also I changed his diapers. So it's a little bit like watching your kid grow up, which happens way too fast. So
well, as you know, and we won't go into detail here, that sort of exists within our firm where we've got a big cis little bro with a little bit of a gap. Now, I'll throw this out for you to share with him. Folks, you may or may not know this. I think we've covered it, but my family's a track and field family. Both of my children went to college on scholarship, throwing metal balls and metal plates and things like that. And they are now pretty decorated coaches. And my son has his own throws club called Viking Throws. If you saw a picture of Colin, you'd know why it's Viking. But he wanted me to let you know that baby bro is welcome to come over anytime between now and when he goes to New York in March.
Nice.
If he wants to train with the Viking coaches, because when I told him the distance and he goes, "Oh, we'd take that right now." So just
awesome.
putting that out there, so hey folks, this is another one of those places where we're just doing something just for us here. So I apologize for that. But we don't get that many intersections where shot put comes into a conversation.
Right.
Just letting you know that.
Right. Yeah. No, I will make mention of that to him. Yep. I'm sure
then we can back channel.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that'll be two large mammals getting together. I guarantee you that.
Yeah.
They're both pretty big boys.
Definitely. Yeah. Little brother's not so little anymore, for sure.
Yeah. So what do we have up? We got some cool stuff. We're talking about one of the most searched topics for federal employees. This always gets me, which is mileage rates. But we've also got some things relative to federal employees' financial planning and those first months of retirement. So talk to us a little bit about that.
We do. So we had a really interesting article go up on the blog this week on financial planning and federal retirement. I think this brings a lot of, and this is really the value of Serving Those Who Serve as well, bringing a lot of the various pieces of your benefits and retirement planning together. So kind of looking at income in retirement, where are things coming from? What resources do you have kind of to lean on as a federal employee or retiree? So multiple sources of income in retirement for our feds. This is, one of the areas that makes financial planning for feds a lot, but there's one of the areas that makes financial planning for feds so interesting and so different and creates such a kind of chasm between private sector folks and folks who are, working in government. It's the income, right? It's the additional sources of income that are coming in there. So not only do you have TSP, for which there is kind of a private sector equivalent in the form of a 401k or 403b, you've also got Social Security. You have FERS, CSRS pension, right? You've got military pension. A lot of our feds served in the military before, they became feds. And then, of course, outside IRAs, Roth IRAs, outside investment portfolios, even sometimes brokerage accounts can be, part of your retirement income plan there. And then there's kind of the miscellaneous income that is maybe not applicable to everybody. Rental properties, a lot of folks, have. I talked with a wonderful couple actually last week that has a rental property in North Carolina in the Outer Banks, which is fabulous. Non-retirement investments, those are those brokerage accounts that we were talking about, and et cetera. I would also add part-time income there because a lot of our feds, they like to stay busy. They like to kind of stay, out in the working world, and they'll take a part-time job and kind of manage that part-time income as part of their retirement picture. So some tips and reminders here, things to start kind of looking at if you're planning retirement, if you're kind of figuring out where income's going to come from with that FERS pension. Remember, you've got an interim status there. So between 2 to 9 months, and sometimes that 9-month mark gets moved out a little bit. It's sort of like us, right? 15 minutes-ish, 9 months-ish. For that period of time, 2 to 9 months after you retire, you're getting 60 to 70% of your pension deposit, your true pension deposit. So you're going to need a cash reserve to make up the difference in that pension. And then it will be readjusted and you'll be made whole. But you will need to lean on a cash reserve there. A lot of times folks will look at their annual leave payout for this and kind of, factor that into the equation as well. So in addition to having enough saved for your expected expenses, which would include that cash reserve we talked about before, it's a good idea to have what's called a rainy day fund. Sometimes folks will refer to it as an emergency fund for unexpected expenses because, inevitably, it's one of those things when it rains, it pours. If you've decided to retire and you kind of know and you've planned to have this reduced pension, this interim pension, and then the roof goes and you need to pay $10,000 to, deposit to get that taken care of, or, your car goes out, you need a new one. It's important to kind of have that emergency fund set aside. For all of our financial planning clients, we recommend having that emergency fund in place well before retirement, because as we all know, emergencies can happen at any time, really. Be smart when making TSP withdrawals. So you want to try to wait as long as possible to tap into these savings. There's a couple reasons for that. One is if you're holding a ton of cash in a high yield, even if it's in a high yield savings account, right? And not a checking account. If it's in a checking account, definitely get it in the high yield savings. But even in that savings account, you're just not making what you need to be making, more than likely, to outpace inflation there. And the best hedge, as we know, long-term against inflation is equity markets. And that's what you've got in your TSP. Ideally, if you're, unless you're a 100% G fund person, then you've got your inflation hedge there. The other reason that I'll mention is those TSP withdrawals are taxable to you as income. So especially in that first year of retirement, when you get that annual leave payout, if you do have annual leave that's banked, that's going to be a pretty, significant bump up potentially for you in taxable income. So then if you start pulling from TSP on top of that, you could have a situation where you bump yourself up into a higher tax bracket for that year. Particularly, it's important at all times, but particularly important starting 2026 and later, we're going to have higher tax brackets. So that's going to be a bigger issue. So definitely kind of think through that. You want to spend through your cash reserves with the exception of that emergency fund before you start pulling out of that TSP by and large. Whether you're still in the TSP or whether you're rolled over into an IRA, you want to make sure that you're minimizing those taxes and that you're maintaining your investment strategy for long-term fidelity. Want to say a couple things about Social Security. Figuring out when to take Social Security is really important. A lot of times we find that feds have that age 62 turn the nozzle on mindset because that's when the supplement stops. That is not necessarily the best plan for you. It depends on a lot of different factors. Your spouse also is brought into it as well because they will also have some sort of Social Security benefit more than likely. If you're retiring from FERS before 62, it's Really important to understand that supplement. We don't have time to get into the particulars of that here, but if you go to our website, stwserve.com, and you just search supplement, you will have a week's worth or more of reading on that, and you can get all the gory details there. So obviously, managing income in retirement is a big reason for having a Fed-focused financial advisor. And that qualifier there, Fed-focused, is really, really important because having worked in private sector advising and worked with Feds, I can tell you folks, there is a big, big difference. There are financial planning considerations there that folks who aren't immersed in this world just don't understand. So key things that you want to look for when you're looking for a Fed-focused advisor: you want a fiduciary. You want to ideally be working with a certified financial planner. And you also, this is the key one for Feds, Chartered Federal Benefits Consultant designation. This is a designation that is all about you, the civilian Fed. And so our advisors here at Serving Those Who Serve, everybody across the board has a CHFEBC. We renew every year. We stay up to date on, what's going on in that space. And that's really, really important when you're looking at your long-term financial planning.
We got to take a test every year.
Yep. We got to stay vetted.
Very true.
Dan makes his 100% every year.
the one thing that, the one thing else that I'll drop in there, and, Katelyn, you made a great point about your time out in private sector planning.
Right.
There's a big difference between a single person who's committed to this and an organization who's committed to this, because the synergy that happens within an org is irreplaceable, and having a cadre of bright people that are just immersed all the time in what's best for Feds really produces a lot of fantastic fruit. And I'm glad you said that somebody could spend hours in that website. And that even is something of which I carry a lot of pride. Folks, you can find everything you need to be a do-it-yourselfer in there. If you're willing to commit 5 to 10 hours a week going through content on our site every year, you're going to have everything you need to know. And we're proud of that. But if you want some help, we're here for that too. So we're proud of that as well. So sorry, Katelyn, I kind of jumped in on the end of yours.
No, it's a good point. I definitely, I would encourage that. I think there's not a lot of firms who, well, I don't know of any other firm that gives out the amount of information that we do for free. And it's really because we are a mission-driven organization. We want to help Feds, however that's accessible for them. So if you are a do-it-yourselfer, the information's there. If you want help and you want kind of more complex multi-tier planning, we're there for that as well. But Dan, you have some updates, which I can't think of a topic that is more Fed specific. You have some updates for us on mileage.
GSA gas reimbursement rates, which, Katelyn, did you know that this is one of the most searched topics every year? It was a surprise to me.
It kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody else who's writing about it, so it kind of makes sense. It's neat.
So this is for Feds, for example, who use their own privately owned vehicle for federal business. The government will reimburse them for gas.
Gotcha.
So for cars and vans, when no government vehicle is available. Cars and vans when no government vehicle is available. The rates are going up from 65.5 cents per mile in 2023 to 67 cents per mile in 2024.
Gotcha.
Now for cars and vans, when there is a government-owned vehicle available, reimbursement rates are going down from 22 cents in 2023 to 21 cents in 2024. So I think the message there is that they want you using the government vehicle. And I'm willing to bet that's because there's a lot of more fuel-efficient vehicles in there now. But then I'm such a nerd for this. Here's the one that I just wasn't expecting. And that is that there's rates for airplane and motorcycle. So rates increased from 2023. Planes are going up 2 cents to $1.76 per mile, and motorcycles increased by 1.5 cents to 65 cents per mile. So, hey, you're using your own plane for federal service. God bless you. Thank you for doing that. And can I have a ride? I actually, I really enjoy, flying in a small aircraft. So
wow. Yeah.
if you're ever looking for a wingman, think of OG over.
Oh man.
So,
yeah. Very interesting. That's funny. I actually have a client who drives a motorcycle, so I will have to
well, the
send
motorcycle,
him
no,
that article.
I'm not volunteering for that part. You don't have to worry. I'm not going to be weird, hugging onto the back of you. But if you got a plane, I'll volunteer for that.
Pick a brother up for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And so, sort of last thing, we didn't touch on it. I'm not in black because I'm cautiously optimistic that by the time you're listening to this, we could be resolved. So cue Grateful Dead. I'm wearing a touch of gray. Okay, because I'm hopeful we will not have a shutdown.
Gotcha. All right. Well, fingers crossed. And obviously, we'll keep you updated on all the news there as well. We will be back next week, folks, to bring you all the latest updates that you need to make informed decisions about your career and financial well-being as a Fed. It can be as big picture as financial planning or as detailed and nuanced as gas mileage reimbursement. But we cover it all.
And be sure to subscribe to this podcast. Hit that button on our YouTube channel and Spotify so you never miss an episode. And please, 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 remember to share it with friends and colleagues. Where else are they going to be able to find out what's going on with the World Shot?
Of course. Yep. And for more information on the topics covered in today's show and more, definitely check out our blog at blog.stwserve.com. While you're there, you can subscribe to our newsletter, The Weekly Serving, to get all the latest news for Feds delivered straight to your inbox each week. So in case you forgot your headphones at home, you can read the information and articles that we're covering each week on the Fed15 through that weekly serving email blast.
Indeed. And don't forget those free webinars. Every single month, we've got 7 of them going up. A couple of the ones you won't want to miss. On January 31st, we have a special 4-hour episode dealing exclusively with FEHB, Medicare, and TRICARE. So that's the 31st from 10:30 until 2:30. And then the very next day, we've got Understanding Your Federal Retirement Benefits, FERS, on February 1st from 1 till 4. Don't miss it. They are awesome. Sign up for one, sign up for all.
Absolutely. Yep. That FERS webinar, in case the interim period for the FERS pension surprised you or was new information to you, you can learn all about it on that webinar there. Well, folks, I think that about does it for us this week. Thank you so much for listening to the Fed15. I am Katelyn Murray.
And I am Dan Sipe.
And we will see you next week. Take care, guys.